Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen and life coach Wendy Dillard here. Today is Wednesday, June the 27th, 2018, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, your second daily dose of happy for the day. And you're on hump day. That's what they call it on Wednesdays, right? I don't call it that, but I know people do. So you're over the hump. Congratulations. You made it. Hooray.
Woo-hoo! You know, I used to hate the name hump day because I heard one of my favorite radio personalities tell the story that, you know, so many people spend their lives waiting for the weekend. And so, you know, they called Wednesday hump day because they were halfway to the weekend. And then they would get drunk and party so hard on the weekends, they didn't remember what they did. Then they'd have to go back to work on Monday, not really knowing what they did, but going, oh, yeah, man, it was a great party. And then they started all over again.
Yeah, that doesn't sound really appealing to me, I have to say.
No, and so the thought of hump day, you know, being sliding down the hill halfway to time to party was kind of really unnerving. But then one of my dearest friends, Rhonda, who has a radio show on hump day, she loves hump day because that's her day to do a radio show.
This is true.
So
yeah.
I've had to start to think a little bit different because I'm like, well, she found a way for hump day to be something that was a very happy thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I guess it really is all about the perception that we choose to give whatever we choose to give it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, perception's everything, right? And certainly
Absolutely.
We don't have to choose the perception of somebody who lives for getting plastered on the weekend. We can choose other perceptions.
Exactly.
I'm trying to remember a lot. Yeah, that was a long time ago when I did that last. I mean, like a long time ago. It was so far. Let's put it this way. It's so long ago that I'm not sure the brain cell still exists to hold the memory of it. That's how far ago it is.
You know, and not that I'm going to know the end of this story, but I was listening to an Abraham clip today, and this guy who was talking, he said something like, well, on the weekends, I like to get drunk. So I'm not wanting you to tell me anything about how not to do that, but I just have one question about it. And then he went on to talk about it. And I just thought that was really funny. Like, what a way to announce, you know, here's the prelude to my question. I like to get bombed, totally forget what I'm doing, but don't change any of my habits. But I do have a question for you. A little laugh.
Which kind of raises another question. What's the question? I mean, he's pretty much eliminated any possibility for change. So what's left?
No, he did have a question, but I'll be honest with you, his question paled in comparison to the intrigue that I had of his based on his introduction.
I would say, yeah. Wow.
But, you know, Abraham has zero judgment about anything, so they just went on to answer his question.
Okay. Well, I give Abraham a lot of credit because I also give Esther a lot of credit, too, because she's the one who's parroting it back and forth. And you know, between her and Abraham, they spend a lot of time answering the same questions over and over again. I mean, on some level, that's got to be a little tedious. I know it's beneficial for the people who are listening, and that's wonderful for them, but that's got to be a little tedious.
According to Esther, there is something new in every single question that is being asked.
Well, it's good for her to have that perspective and be able to see it that way, because that's great.
And that's why she is who she is, doing what she does.
Yeah, there you go. There it is. Yep. You've just nailed it. All right.
So tell me what wonderful thing has happened in your day today.
Today is nothing like yesterday. Yesterday had, you know, this huge event that happened, and, you know, we talked about it for a good part of the show. Today is like quiet. There's nothing going on today. It's just quiet.
But there's always something going on. So what really is going on that you hadn't considered before?
Well, I caught up on some bookkeeping. That was good. I mean, that was stuff that had been kind of hanging over me, and it's all caught up. So that was really good. I mean, very nondescript.
Today? What's a new thought that you focused on today that you hadn't considered before?
Oh, geez. I don't know. I'm reaching right now. I can't tell you. How about you? I'm going to turn around on you. What's your new thought for the day?
What's my new thought for the day? Well, truly, whatever I give focus to, I really do see evidence of it showing up in my life.
Yeah.
There's some personal things with a friend of mine that we've been going through together, and it was just not looking like things were moving in a direction that either one of us was very happy with. And it's been going on for, maybe about 3 weeks. and it just we're kind of at a deadline. We have like a week left, and it was just coming to like what was appearing like more unpleasantness than pleasantness.
Yeah.
And so I had reached out to another friend of mine to just kind of talk things through just so I could get some new perspective.
Right.
And I did get new perspective, but it still didn't feel like, oh, yay, things are going to go in a magnificent way. But I had hope, and I went, well, things do always work out for me. We'll just see what happens. And I didn't mean that like literally we'll just see what happens because I'm not doing anything, because I had been really setting my intentions in such a powerful way. I just wasn't seeing the evidence of it showing up yet.
Oh, okay.
And last night we ended up in an impromptu discussion, and some major breakthroughs came through in this impromptu discussion.
Wow.
That when it was all said and done, I had a renewed sense of hopefulness.
Oh, nice.
And then this morning she had a phone call with somebody where she was calling about one thing, but the conversation opened up broader, and it looked like it actually could be the solution that we had been seeking all along.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow. And I've just been thinking back to all the pieces and parts that have come before where we are now. And even I think it's human nature that when something occurs, we assign a meaning to it. And we go, oh, well, this is looking good, or this is not looking good, or, well, if this happens, then we have to forego this other piece. And, well, if this thing happens, well, that'll be good, but this other part is not good. And it's like, it is so human. It is so me to try to figure out everything and put it in a box and a category and determine what it all means. All along, we've been saying, the two of us have been saying, let's just let go of our perceptions. Let's let go of what we think everything means. Let's consider that anything is possible. It's not like the universe doesn't know what it is we desire, but it's really hard sometimes when it's something that's really, really, really important. And part of it has a little bit of survival need connected to it.
Oh, okay.
So it's just a really big deal. And it's kind of like when she told me what she was looking at this morning, I was like, oh my God, like if that comes through for us, that changes everything. And it almost answers every desire that we've had in the process.
Wow.
But what I sensed so strongly last night was the conversation that we had that was really, it started out uncomfortable, but everything that was said was pertinent. And it led to these mega breakthroughs. And what I sensed was once the breakthroughs occurred, resistance had been released.
Well, that's nice.
I mean, we're talking bucket loads of resistance.
Yeah, that's always really
that
good.
had been which had been in place for decades. We're talking bucket loads of decades worth of resistance gone, at least moved, shifted, not stuck. And I knew when I went to sleep last night that the work that we did together, the conversation, was making room for law of attraction to finally deliver in a more pleasant way. And, it was honestly, I'm not going to say I'm a naysayer because we know I'm a little bit more Pollyanna, but I didn't have a whole heck of a lot of hope for this. But what's so fascinating is I went from being really hopeless, and I told her a couple of weeks ago, I said, I really don't have hope for a positive result on this one. Just don't. And now it's feeling like it's turning around.
You're having quite the co-creative experience with her.
It's very co-creative, and it's been quite fascinating. And it's really more about her getting the result that she wants, but I have been alongside of her. So when I say I didn't have a lot of hope, it was because I was honest, I didn't have a lot of hope that she was going to follow through on the necessary things in order for her to get what she wanted. Because I could sense there was so much resistance that as much as she desired what she wanted, I understand how law of attraction works. And you just can't have 2 feet on the brakes of your car and expect it to move forward. And that was what I was sensing, that there was so much resistance, and she was so not recognizing it and wasn't asking me for help. And I didn't feel it was my place tell her what to do, because you know me, I keep getting, stay in your own lane. It's none of your business.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm following my guidance. And when things got really uncomfortable the other night, it was like, oh my gosh, everything in me was pulling at my heartstrings, and I wanted to hug her and encourage her and love on her and let her know that somehow, some way it's going to be okay. And my guidance was say nothing. And I was begging, please. And I got nothing, do nothing. And I'm like, oh gosh, but this is so hard. It's like, yeah, and do nothing. Now, then I was getting greater clarity, which is sometimes people have to go through a lot of pain where they come to the end of everything they can think of.
Yeah, you come to the end of your rope, basically.
Yeah. And I knew she was getting close to that. And so when she had left the house after I was saying, oh, please let me say something nice or encourage her or speak. And I kept getting no. And then after she walked out of the door, there was nothing I could literally do. But I said, could you give me some insight? Because this is really hard. And what I really got was, she's getting so close to the end of her rope. If you step in, even with one word of encouragement, it'll prolong her process.
Oh, very nice.
And I went, ouch. Okay, I know she's on a deadline, and I'm not willing to prolong her process. Okay. And so I just took a big, deep breath and went, okay, I'm going to stay in my lane.
Good for you.
And then, last night, when I say impromptu, I meant truly it was impromptu. It was just, we just started having what I call a normal conversation. And then this other stuff just naturally fell into place, and it led to these big breakthroughs.
Wow. And
so it wasn't like if you're having an issue with a coworker or a spouse or someone in your life, and you kind of set it in your mind, okay, we're going to have a sit down, or we're going to have to talk. Mm-hmm. I mean, don't you just hate that phrase when someone says, we need to talk?
Oh yeah, that's always like Cindy commented on that very thing this morning. How
really,
as soon as that phrase comes out, it's bad news. It's just guaranteed.
Oh yeah, everything in your body bristles, and you're bracing for impact.
I think the way she said it is her husband Scott is the one who says, he said, well, that can't be good.
Exactly. And so that's what I was really wanting to avoid, was the talk.
The talk.
It was so cool because we never had to have the talk, yet the essence of everything we would have said in the talk got said last night in a way that it was easy, in a way that it was unnerving, in a way that there was not additional resistance. And so I really believe that things are moving and grooving in a positive way. And, it really never shows up the way you think it will. But,
it's true.
I'm doing everything I know how to do. I'm staying in my lane. But the biggest thing that I've been a part of in the co-creation is staying really connected to my guidance system. Really paying attention to what I feel based on a conversation we have, based on thoughts that I'm thinking, whatever it is, I'm paying attention to, that doesn't feel good. What am I thinking about? Oh, yeah, I'm placing judgment on this, or I'm projecting something with an unpleasant ending. And I'm like, okay, none of your business. Get out of that. Pull that back. Believe for the best. Everything's always working out for you. And I self-talk my way back into feeling good. And it feels like the process has been prolonged, like an extended period of time of having to do this. But I'll tell you, it has really sharpened my sensitivity to how I feel. And it's given me great opportunity to just keep checking in with my guidance system, just asking questions and staying close to the mothership.
Yeah.
And gosh, that feels really good. And kind of as a result, I have another friend who, actually this is my friend Rhonda, who has a radio show on Wednesdays, the one who has it on Hump Day. We were talking yesterday, and she just made some of the most wonderful, complimentary, lovely comments about me.
Nice.
And she said, would you be willing to come on my radio show in a couple weeks as a guest? And I'm like, oh, of course. I mean, we're friends. Of course I would. And she said, I really want to talk about law of attraction. I'm like, okay, well, so my favorite topic, that's still a no-brainer.
Right.
And I said, but what specifically? I said, Rhonda, we talk about law of attraction all the time. And she goes, yeah, but I'm hearing something in what you're talking about where I realize you know stuff. You're a master at this. You're really good at it. And you stay really grounded and consistent in it. And she said, I want to have a conversation with you on air, not only to benefit me and you, but to benefit all my listeners. I'm like, done. So, one, it's cool because somebody acknowledged me. But two, the piece that's really exciting for me is because I've been invited to do this show, which it's, here's the funny thing. I do a show with you every single day of the week.
Right.
So it's not like being on radio is like going to be all that different.
No.
And yet, because it's a different audience, it has this expansive feeling for me.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
And she said, make sure she said, let's talk about the show topic and, a little blurb about the topic. And I want your bio and your picture and all your contact information. And I'll load it up onto the show, and she said, it'll go on YouTube. And even from years from now, it'll be there. And if people find it, they can still contact you. And, you can make an offer for people to get onto your community list. You can give them a free gift. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think I've landed.
Yeah,
I've landed someplace new.
Well, you did talk, like with the last few episodes of the show, off and on, you've been talking about how you've been getting yourself into that aligned position where you can believe that people can find you and where you believe they are going to find you. And now all of a sudden it's starting to happen.
And one of my people, I don't know, I can't remember if I've talked about Josh Flagg on this show before, but he's one of the realtors on $1 Million Listing Los Angeles.
Right. Yes.
And so he's in the luxury market. And I found a Facebook ad and it said, hey, get my free ebook. And I'm like, ooh, I love Josh Flagg. Let's find out what he has to say. So I took his free ebook and I've been following him now for a while. And I've been on his email list and I get new stuff from him every day. And I'm getting such incredible insight about the luxury market and how to position yourself. And it's really been all awesome. Well, here's the part that's really cool to me. It dawned on me, I could look him up in LinkedIn. And I did. And so I sent him a note, told him I'm one of his followers, loving his insight, thrilled to be on his list. And would he do me the honor of connecting with me on LinkedIn? So not only 2 days later does he connect with me, but he sends me a note.
Nice.
Now, I don't usually even respond to people on LinkedIn. I just accept, and move onward.
Right.
So he sent me something with like one sentence. And I'm like, well, I'm going to send him something back. And then he sent me something back. And I now sent something back to him. And I'm like,
fun.
Okay, he's in the luxury market. And he and I are conversing a little bit on LinkedIn. Don't know if he's connected my name with the person that sent him an email because one of his emails said, hey, if you really like my stuff, reply to me and tell me you like it. So I'll keep sending more. And I did. And I replied to him and I said, hey, Josh, I've been watching you for all these years on your TV show. I've read both of your books. Love everything you have to say. Learning so much from you. And I said, I'm preparing to move into the affluent market myself. I'm not a realtor, but I'm in life coaching. But I'm using what you have to share to help position me. And I'm thrilled with it. Thank you. Keep the emails coming. And so my thought is, okay, I've now connected with him on email. I've now connected with him on LinkedIn. And this may sound really minor, but to me, I'm like, oh my God, this is called networking.
Yes.
I'm like connecting with somebody. And in the world of social media, it never would have dawned on me I could connect with him. And then my response to him today in LinkedIn was, I said, I really hope we find some great project to work on together in the near future. I don't know where that came from, but it felt like the right thing to say. That was my way of saying, I want to work with you. Don't know what we can do for each other. Maybe you need a coach. I'm here. Or maybe I'll find somebody who needs to sell a house and I'll offer it to you. I don't know.
Can't hurt, no matter how you look at it.
Or maybe he'll just have a contact or he'll know somebody who's looking for life coaching. Who knows?
Possible.
and I'm doing what he says to do, which is be personable, reply quickly. So I'm following his wisdom.
Yeah.
And maybe he'll go, she's the kind of gal that I'd be willing to recommend to somebody. Okay.
That'd be great.
Maybe he looked at my, LinkedIn profile where front and center it says I do a daily podcast. Maybe he's tuning in. Josh, if you're listening, hi.
Hello. Welcome to the show. And by the way, I want to take a moment to anybody who's a new listener. This is a good time for this. If you're a new listener and you haven't subscribed to the podcast, take a moment to do so. It's right at the homepage, loatoday.net. All the instructions are right there. It takes about a minute. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. There's no future consideration. It's always free. So, just do it. And once you do, you get the Daily Dose of Happy sent to you 11 times a week. Twice a day, Monday through Friday, and once on Sunday. And you can listen to them anytime you want to. And especially if your name is Josh. So, feel free.
If you're Josh Flagg.
There you go.
From $1 Million Listing, Los Angeles.
Or even even if your name is just Josh, that's okay too. You're welcome as well. But actually, what you were talking about there kind of rang a bell a little bit, because David and I were talking on Sunday, and we were talking a little bit during the podcast, but mostly it was afterward. We were talking about the fact that he knows Dr. Michael Beckwith, who was one of the presenters in The Secret. That's actually where David learned about the law of attraction, from Dr. Beckwith. He attended Dr. Beckwith's church when David lived in California. And so I said to him, well, if you know him, I mean, do you think he'd recognize your name? And David said, yeah, he probably would. I said, would you be willing to contact him to see if he'd be willing to read our book, maybe review it? He said, okay. And so he put out a word to see whether or not he could get a book through to Michael Beckwith, and just got a reply yesterday that Beckwith's editor is saying, yeah, sure, send the book to me and I'll make sure he gets it.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Who knows what's going to lead to? You never know. It may actually lead to a review. Wouldn't that be something?
Wow.
Yeah.
You just never know what's going to lead to what.
Exactly.
And that's really the point of what I was starting to explain with my friend and I, how we've been kind of going through this co-creative dance, because we keep thinking of things, reaching out, doing things, making phone calls, doing internet searches. There's been a huge process going on, and each thing kind of leads to the next thing. But we don't know what the next thing is going to be until we've done the thing prior to it.
Right, exactly, yeah.
And who knows? You had a conversation with David, and it made him think about his connection with Michael Beckwith. And then, he reached out to him, who then you got a response from an editor. And think of, just in that alone, those are like 4 different things.
Mm-hmm.
And each one happens sequentially after the other.
Yep.
And so, you never know where something's going to go. You just have to take the lead that you get from the impulse and just go with it and see what happens.
Well, as usual, we are almost always able to find a connection to what we're reading in the book, whichever book we're looking at. And we've just hit that connection today, right now, for the next section. So I figured this is a good time to get into it, all right?
All righty.
Now, we have moved into part 5, which is segment intending of the book, The Law of Attraction, The Basics of the Teachings of Abraham. We're on the second subtopic. That subtopic is entitled, I Can Segment Intend My Success, which sounds like a good topic. And it starts off by saying, technically, all of your creative power is in this moment, but you are projecting it not only into this moment, but also into the future that exists for you. And that's it right there. That's exactly what you were talking about.
Wow. That's really cool.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It continues saying, and so the more you are willing to stop and identify what you want in this segment, then the greater, clearer, and more magnificent your future path will be. And each of your moments will be better and better and better also. Again, exactly what you just described. The purpose of this essay is to offer, to those who want it, a practical process with which to put into immediate practice the primary laws of the universe, in order to give you absolute and deliberate control of your life experience. And while to some this may seem to be a very broad overstatement, for it seems to most that you cannot control the experiences of your life, we want you to know that you can. We have come forth to assist those of you who are here, now focused in physical bodies, to understand specifically how you attract everything you are attracting, and to assist you in understanding that nothing comes to you unless you invite it through your thought. And that once you begin looking into your life experience and begin to see the absolute correlation between what you are speaking and what you are thinking and what you are getting, then you will clearly understand that indeed you are the inviter, you are the attractor, and you are the creator of your physical experience. Now, that's the more high-flung, abstract way of saying it, but they said basically the same thing you just said, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, I could see that. And yet because they said it slightly different, I'm receiving it in a new way.
Oh, how's it hitting you?
Well, the beginning part of what you read talked about what you focus on right now in this moment.
Right.
Not only affects this moment, but it also affects the future.
The future, right.
And I mean, I'll be honest with you, when I knew that we were now in section 5 about segment intending, I'm like, oh, ho hum. Yeah, I've done segment intending before, and you know.
Well, there's a great endorsement if I ever heard one.
Well, it's kind of, it's like I've done segment intending purposefully in the past, and I did it with great gusto for a long period of time, but it's kind of like I'm not there anymore. The thought of doing segment intending for one specific something just doesn't come to mind unless it literally feels like a piece of guidance that's just handed to me, where it's like, okay, focus on this moment, focus on what's about to come, and really put your thoughts and energy into it. Well, then I do. And so I guess in a way, segment intending is something I've integrated into who I am and the practices of how I live my life naturally now.
Yeah.
But I guess it never had really dawned on me in this specific way that what you focus on in a given moment is, it takes on a life of its own. This is what I heard in what you read.
Yeah.
It takes on a life of its own because you said it once and it just kind of keeps going. And you don't have to put the same level of focus on it the next time because there's already a momentum from the first time in place. So when you think about it again, you're adding more to something that's already in existence.
As you were describing that, I immediately had, this is unusual for me, I don't normally have images, right? But I had an image. And the image was of a pebble dropped in a very smooth pond of water and the ripples going out and just continuing to go out.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so tell us more. Like, how does that...
Well, I mean, the ripples going out, they don't really stop. I mean, they will eventually stop just because there's a certain degree of resistance there in water. But no, ripples in water, they can go on for a long, long time. And then as you're doing more stuff, maybe you're dipping your toe in or you're taking a swim or whatever, then the ripples become waves and they're all flowing in with each other and they just keep going and going and going. They just keep building. That's what I was thinking of. That was the image that came to me as you described how, you put something out there and it just keeps going.
Yeah, so now I'm thinking about like something specific that you put in the water.
Okay.
Instead of just a pebble, because the pebble will float to the bottom and you watch the ripples happening. But like, let's say you put something specific. What's something that
like
floats?
something that floats?
Well, yeah. So like a little pool toy.
Okay.
Something that floats above the water. So let's say it's a little ducky, a rubber ducky. And you're at the shore's edge and you put the little rubber ducky in there and then you kind of splash the water and the little rubber ducky starts to move out further from the shoreline.
As he's bobbing and weaving too.
Yeah, and then let's say a big wave comes in and like engulfs this little rubber ducky, and because it's something that floats, for a while you can't see it, but once the wave has settled down, it's like you see it and now it's much further out. It's like you don't have to do anything anymore. All you did is set it loose.
Yeah.
And now the inertia and the momentum of the waves will just take it out.
Exactly.
And out.
Yeah.
And out. So I like that you saw that because then that brought in the bigger analogy. Because really when we're talking with words, especially with intensity or excitement or enthusiasm. The words that we speak, it's not specifically about the actual words we say, because, law of attraction doesn't hear words.
Right.
It doesn't hear us.
Yeah, hear
but
thoughts.
It does pick up the feeling
mm-hmm.
that we're experiencing while we're talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I'm on a, little rampage of something that feels really good to me, and when I'm talking about it, we're all listening to me based on the words that I'm speaking. But law of attraction is picking up the vibrational energy, the feeling behind what I'm saying. And I can see how the things that I talk about on this show take on a life of their own.
Oh, yeah.
Because it doesn't take very many shows before I'm telling you, well, I've got that manifestation, or
that's right.
Now that has turned into this, or now this has shown up. And it's really quite interesting. So like anybody who listens to like the show with, you and me specifically, you kind of get a sense of my momentum because I talk about what's going on all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And if you wonder, well, what do I do when we're not talking during the show on those given subjects? I think about them sometimes. Do I give it a whole heck of a lot more effort? Only if I happen to be talking to someone and it feels like something appropriate to bring up, or if I get specifically guided to do something or say something. Otherwise, I don't put a whole lot more airtime on something than what I share here.
Mm-hmm.
Although sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night realizing, oh, I'm focused on, or I just had a dream about something that I talked about on the show, or something I've been
because we're focusing on stuff. You use the exact word. We're focused on stuff, and so you're focused on it again because we've already got the momentum going. Weren't you the one? I think it was yesterday. You were the one who said that the law of attraction is really just another word for momentum.
Correct.
Well, that's exactly what you're describing here. You're describing how a momentum gets set into motion, and that momentum fuels you and feeds you later on, like in the middle of the night. You get this idea that comes to you, and it just kind of keeps the whole thing going.
Well, I was reading an email from one of my other mentors, and he's a mentor in the business and high performance space. And he sent out a video the other day, and he sent out, a checklist, and it's like, here's my Sunday checklist. These are all the things that I review on a weekly basis to make sure that I'm on target and that I'm making progress in my life. And let me tell you, this guy is a mover and shaker. I've never seen anybody who moves at the level that he does.
Mm-hmm.
But I read through his Sunday checklist, and I'm like, oh my goodness, kill me now. I mean, although I totally understood why this would be very impactful, I did not have any inkling or inspiration or even motivation to want to follow that model.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm down to the point now where my checklists are usually consistent of like one item. Like in this case, my checklist would be feel good. Okay, done.
There you go. Well, and so I kind of, when I hear wisdom like this from somebody that I highly respect, and I have followed other things that he has done that has made a positive impact for me, it does cause me to go, okay, so am I just being narrow-minded, or am I being pig-headed? Is this something I should adopt, or is this an appropriate thing for me? And the internal response that came to me was, it's not a good fit for you.
Mm.
And I went, oh, well, that feels a whole lot better than I'm being a schmuck, or, I'm being lazy.
Well, it also matches your original reaction. And your original reaction was, yeah, well, that's not going to work.
Yeah, kill me now.
Kill me now.
Yeah, it felt really not good because I tried it on energetically. I tried it on, what it would feel like to, even do it one Sunday, let alone every Sunday. And it felt so heavy and dense and just uncomfortable. Well, so that means that thought that I'm having that this would be something I'd want to do every week was not in alignment with who I really am.
Not even close, no.
And my inner self was letting me know by having this feeling of, And so when I started asking questions and the response was, this is not a good fit for you, let it go, I was so excited.
Well, good. That's a good thing.
And I'm like, Okay, but then I asked the next question. I went, okay, so he gets an awful lot done in his life because he has this Sunday checklist, and he's always, evaluating where he stands in regards to or in relationship to the goals that he's trying to accomplish. And I went, well, what about me? And and it was like, well, are you dissatisfied with the things you're accomplishing? I'm like, well, no, but I wouldn't mind if they went a little bit faster or smoother or were more targeted or more narrowed, you know. And there was just this sense of, and that's your choice. If you want to have a more narrowed focus because you want to move faster, you know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I loved was there was not a sense of should behind the guidance. There wasn't any, this is what you should do, or the only way you're going to get what you want is if you get on board and do this thing. It was everything in your life, Wendy, is choice. You can choose to move fast towards your goals or slow towards your goals. Doesn't matter because they're all yours. And in the meantime, kind of like your one-word checklist, just be happy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. And that just, that's part of what I was saying earlier about how there's been so much pleasure and joy in becoming more sensitive to following and being aware of the guidance that comes to me.
You've gotten really good at it, too, I have to say. I mean, I've seen the development just since you and I started doing the podcast some 6 months ago or whatever it was, in that you would, early on when you were talking about connecting with your inner being, or the various incarnation names you gave it.
They're all pet names.
They're pet names. Yeah, there you go. So, I mean, as you talked about early on, it was like, an occasional message you would get. You get an occasional insight. Now you're carrying out entire conversations. You've done all that transition in 6 months. I mean, mm-hmm. I can't even begin to imagine where you're going to be 6 months from now.
Well, and when I was having my conversation with Rhonda last night, that's what I really sensed she was sensing. Because we've known each other for coming up to 4 years now. And so we've understood where each other has been in terms of what we desire, what our challenges are, and, what we're tracking and what, we're working on. And we connect quite often. But when she was saying, whoa, Wendy, you are like this really powerful, masterful law of attraction expert. I'm like, she's saying it back to me in a way that is really indicating she's recognizing something new or different.
Yeah.
Versus all the other conversations we've had in our friendship. And so when we really got down to it and talked about the logistics for her radio show next month, I said, well, what is it you really want to talk about? And she's like, Wendy, there's something I'm picking up in our conversations that you are really becoming so masterful. I want a piece of that. And I want to dig deep and talk with you about how you've created it and what you're doing, because I want it too. And I got to tell you, Walt, there was kind of this like, I'm stepping back going, really, is that what she's witnessing? Huh. Because, I'm in my life every day. Mm-hmm. And so the incremental shifts that I make, I get excited about them, but I don't remember the one from 2 days ago because I'm already living in the now right here today, on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. But she doesn't talk to me every day. So she's seeing a bigger variation between what I was like the last time we talked and where we are now. And it was just really delightful to have somebody mirror that back to me. Mm. Because I have to tell you, just in her mirroring it to me, it made it, I acknowledged it for myself. And now my level of confidence has actually been boosted just by her validation.
Nice.
I'm like, this is kind of cool. And like, I feel like I have positioned myself in a much more powerful way. And I'm now in my own place of agreement, like, yeah, there really isn't anything I can't create. Because she said that to me. She said, you can create everything and anything you want. And I'm like, yeah, I can. And I do. Mm-hmm. Wow. And thank you for saying that. Because she said it in a way that was so clear for me to be able to look at it and then own it and go, yeah,
Well, plus
I
it's
do
great. It's
create
great
one.
anytime we get that kind of feedback, right? Anytime that we get something that tells us not only are we on the right track, but we're on the track we hoped we were on. We're showing, we're demonstrating progress that we kind of see in ourselves, but we don't really know if somebody else sees it. And they're saying, "Yeah, I see it." That's very reassuring. It's like it's an affirmation that comes unexpectedly from outside that you didn't have to generate yourself, sort of.
Yeah. And it just started, it has caused me to think about other people that are in a high profile position. And it's just not that I'm in a high profile position today, but I expect that I probably will be at some point. But it's caused me to think about, okay, so if somebody's a high profile individual, whether they're a teacher guru or they're a celebrity or a politician, I wonder what it feels like being inside of them versus what it looks like on the outside. Because I don't know if you can ever see yourself from the outside, because you always looking at yourself from the inside.
Unless you look in a mirror, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
But there's a perception, because I know what I told you about a couple of my guru people that today, Josh and this other man that I who's in the high performance space that I didn't mention his name.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I have very intense perceptions of them, and it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
I like them tremendously, but it's like I wonder if they really know that they have people, fans, followers who just so appreciate certain aspects of them. And I think they know it on some level.
Sure.
But that's what really impressed me about Josh today, because he became more than a celebrity to me. He became a real person.
Yeah.
Human. Now, I hope he's really the one who responded and he doesn't have his, assistant actually responding on his account.
Can't rule that out. Yeah, that's true.
But, he said he'll respond.
Mm-hmm.
He said, respond to my email and I'll respond back to you. And I'm like, I think he's a pretty honest guy. I don't think he would tell me a fib. And I've had other people, say, if you send me an email, I may not be the one that responds to you, but I'll definitely have someone on my team get back to you. And then when they do, if I'm writing to Susan, I'll get a response back saying Melanie on Susan's team. Right. So I know it's not really Susan responding, but with this one, it said Josh. I'm like, okay, holy cow, he's a real person. That sounds really encouraging. Cool.
Yeah,
I'm impressed.
That's very good.
And yeah, so onward and upward.
Yeah. Well, it'll also be kind of fun to kind of file this away, right? Kind of file it in the mental file and see if it gets called on at a later date. Like, oh, you remember when we had that conversation? Well, guess what happened? Mm-hmm. That can always happen.
See now you just segment intended for that to happen.
I did. Yeah. I didn't even intend to, but I did. So it was an unintentional intent.
Cool. So I totally expect that I'm going to say, remember when we talked about Josh and him personally responding to my LinkedIn thing? Well, now this is what he has said. Mm-hmm. And now he even has a great connection for me. And now he wants to reach out to me and say, hey, do you have like 5 minutes to just have a quick phone call? Because I want to talk to you about somebody who could really use your services.
I like
How
that.
How exciting would that be for me?
Well, you just did the segment intend yourself, really.
There you go.
You just did it.
See, it's almost like you can't not segment intend, because that's what we do all the time. Now, granted, we're doing this in a very positive way based on my Project X that I'm, working towards.
And a very deliberate way, too.
Yes. And what most of us don't recognize is when we, go, oh my God, we have a barbecue on Sunday and I think it's going to rain. Oh, that's going to really suck. Well, that's segment intending also.
It sure is, I'll tell you.
Or like, I'm going to go to this party this weekend and, oh, I really hope my coworker doesn't show up because then I won't be able to have any fun. Well, that's segment intending.
It sure is. Yep. Just not the kind you really intended to intend.
And unless you're someone crazy like me, segment intending in the positive may not be a natural consideration. I don't think it was a natural thing for me. I think it's something that I learned along the way.
Really?
I started learning it.
I mean, we discussed that early on, how you're a very Pollyanna person, so I'm a little surprised. I thought you'd always had this Pollyanna type attitude.
I think I did in some way, but I didn't have the proactivity of thinking like, okay, I think I'm now going to work on blah, blah, blah for the future.
Mm-hmm.
I think I very much had what is itis.
Okay.
I was like most people, I was an observer of what was. I think sometimes my Pollyanna-ish was able to find a silver lining in what is, but I didn't really go too far beyond the boundaries of what was going on.
By the way, I like that term, what is itis? I don't know if we've used that before, but when you said it, it just rang really nicely in my ear. I liked it.
I learned it from Abraham.
Okay.
That one's it's not a Wendy original.
Well, it works. I mean, no matter how you slice it, it works for you. It's great.
Well, and it's like it's kind of moved into my vocabulary because I'm starting to really understand what it means. And it's what is itis is just simply being an observer of what is and just allowing it to exist without recognizing I can change it. I mean, I can observe something, and part of how I can change it is by not observing it anymore.
True.
Turn my back, look at something else.
Yep.
You know? Or I can go, I really like what is. How can I build upon this and make it more?
That's when it's becoming easier, because now you got something that is happening, what is, that you like. That's always easier, because you don't have to work to change it in your mind. You can just go with the flow, so to speak.
And how or why this fits in now, I don't know. But, you know, I had talked about wanting to build an email list once upon a time, you know,
right?
And how it had just felt really heavy to me, and more like it's something I should do. It's what people in business do. You know, how do you reach out to your community or tribe if you don't have them all corralled together in a way you can communicate with them? But it was more like a ho-hum. Oh my God, I don't want to do this.
So thrilled.
I know I need to. I know I should. I know I had somebody a couple months ago call me. She had found me on Facebook and found my Facebook business page. And she wanted to just chat with me for a few moments because she wanted to see if I could be somebody that she could have as a guest on her summit that she was doing.
Nice.
And interestingly, we connected quite nicely. That part I totally expected. But what was interesting is when she said the criteria to be invited to be on this summit is this, 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 and this, and a minimum of 5,000 people on your list. And I went, whoa, okie dokie. Well, I have this, 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 and this, but I don't have a list. And she went, oh. And then there was kind of this awkward, what do we do now? Because she had an expectation I did have quite a list. And if she looked at my business page, I only have 60 followers and 60 likes. I haven't done much to market it or promote it. I have many more people on my personal page. And actually, a lot of people who learn about me through business connect with me on my personal page instead of on my business page. And so anyway, long story short, I didn't have the $5,000 person list. And so she said, oh, well, I'm thinking of doing such and such, which is kind of an alternative for the people I connect with that don't have quite a big list, you know, so can I keep you, you know, keep your number handy and contact you, you know, in the near future? And I went, sure. But in my mind, I'm like, don't bother. I already know you're saying that to be kind, but I went, wow, this list thing is kind of getting me down because I guess it's really necessary just to be able to do certain things in business these days because social media is such a big deal. And so I really want to create a list. But I'll tell you what, even while I'm saying the word list, I hate the word list. Do you know why? Because
nope.
I don't like it when people call me someone on their list.
Oh, yeah.
I like to be called Wendy or one of my friends or someone I'm connected with. Being called someone on my list sounds so impersonal. And so I've been thinking about it. Well, if I build an email list, what do I want to call my people? I don't want to just call them the people on my list. And I like the idea of community, because I do like the idea of building a community. So that's where I'm at today. But the reason I'm bringing this up is every single day since I brought up that subject, that I need to do a list, but I don't really want to do a list, some new something has come into my life that has been calling to me like, wouldn't it be fun? Because when you have a list, you can do this. And when you have a list, you can do that. And it's actually becoming enticing to me. And now it's like I can't wait for me to have the time and the space so I can just start writing, because my intention, and I know everybody who creates an email list for their community does it differently, but I really want to just provide free content.
Mm-hmm.
I want to just teach people ways that they can utilize the law of attraction in their life to make their life feel better, and they can have fun. I don't have a hidden agenda. If at some point in the future I go, hey, I have this cool thing I want to offer, and if you want to purchase it, great. Yeah, I'll use my email list to do that. But that's really not my intention. My intention is I want to be connected to people. I want to have more conversations. And, conversations in the day and age we live in happen more than just what you and I are doing on this podcast. Sometimes a conversation comes in the form of an email. Sometimes it's creating a YouTube video. Sometimes it's a Facebook Live. They all kind of become conversations. It gives us a starting place. So
it can be almost anything.
Say what?
I was just saying it can be almost anything. That's for sure. Interestingly enough, while you were talking there, I got a message from Tom Wells, who does the Monday and Friday shows with me. And it was a very oblique message. He didn't leave a lot of details. He was actually trying to call me while we're doing the podcast, and I flipped the message back. Hey, I'm doing the podcast, and I said, "Oops, sorry, we'll connect another time." But he left me a voicemail, and in the voicemail he made some reference to an email from a radio station. I'm thinking, okay, now this is really weird. Here we are talking about segment intending. We're talking about putting stuff out there and how stuff can come back. We talked about reaching out to Michael Beckwith. We're talking about all this outreach stuff. And Tom calls me out of the blue, not even realizing that we're doing the podcast, saying, hey, I got an email from a radio station asking about us. Like, what?
Wow.
I don't know any of the details. That's all I know so far. But you
well,
gotta be
I can't
kidding
wait
me.
to hear more.
Me too. Yeah, I'm curious. I want to know what it's about.
And I just to wrap up on the idea of me building a community through an email list, I realized that starting many days ago, and even months and years ago, I've been segment intending. And it took me a while to get on board with it on the subject of doing it. But I actually put out the energy at least a couple years ago.
Wow.
And I feel like, in a way, I'm cashing in on an investment that I made a long time ago. And it's just been, my stock has been building. And it's kind of like if you had a small stock and then forgot about it and then looked at it a couple years later.
Yeah, right.
It's possible that it could have grown to some substantial size.
Yeah.
And I think that, too, is a metaphor for segment intending.
Mm-hmm.
So really, segment intending can be just about anything if you think about it. As long as you're putting your focus on something.
In fact, as you said that, segment intending can really be just about anything if you think about it. And the first thought that came to my mind was, of course, the moment you think about it, you just segment intended.
And so just like everything we talk about with law of attraction, if we use segment intending deliberately, it picks up that much more momentum.
Well, that's just it. That's really what the whole point of talking about segment intending is, to actually use it deliberately as a part of what you're wanting to do in your life and what you're trying to attract and what you want to have happen and what kind of life you want to have. That's the whole point.
Wow. And I know one of my favorite segment intending, this is when I first learned about it, 10, 12, gosh. Yeah, maybe about 10 years ago, was when I was putting together an event for the team of people that I work with at my job. And I was just kind of feeling a little underappreciated, shall we say.
Mm-hmm.
And I segment intended as I was in the car driving to work that my boss, who was flying in from another area, that he would so appreciate me that it would be done in a public way, and that the words that he spoke of appreciation would be ones that really touched my heart, and that it would cause other people to kind of have a spontaneous applause or bravo kind of thing for me. And, then of course I segment intended that, all the pieces and parts of the event that I had planned would go well and the caterers would get there on time and blah, 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 blah. But it was so exhilarating because this is the first time I had segment intended with deliberate intent. And sure enough, we all go out to dinner that night at a restaurant that I had selected for all of my team to go to. And at the part that we had all finally gotten our drinks and we were waiting on our salads, he clinked the glass, my boss that is, and he stood up and he wanted to kind of welcome people because so many people had come in from out of town. And then before he went on, he said, but I want to first start with raising a glass to Wendy. And he went on and made this incredible toast that had so much appreciation in the words that I could totally drink in.
Mm.
And then sure enough, everybody clinks their glasses and they all said, ditto, Wendy, you're fabulous, wonderful, blah, blah, blah. And when it was all said and done, I went, damn, if they only knew I actually planned that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had no ideas. They were actors on my stage.
well, to take it even a step further, it's almost amazing that after that experience, you didn't spend more time on the segment intending. What a result you got! That was a fantastic result. That was amazing.
Oh, I did. That was the beginning of segment intending, and I did it for quite a while.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. Because you kind of talked earlier like you kind of left it by the side, so that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Oh, no. I did it for quite a while deliberately.
Oh, okay.
But then it became so much a part of my life that I stopped doing it, okay, when I get in the car, I'm going to do my segment intending because it really just became a natural part of me. And I'll be honest, Walt, I probably segment intend all the time, but I don't think about it because it's really just a natural practice that's kind of on autopilot.
Well, yeah, I mean, that makes sense because I found that through deliberately doing it, it becomes, it's a little bit subconscious, but it's more like I have gotten into the habit of feeling good, and so that becomes the basis of whatever it is on segment intending. I don't have to necessarily think about it. So from that point of view, I can understand that.
So here's the insight that just came to me.
Okay.
So at the beginning of this, I said, oh, yeah, we're reading about segment intending, and I was going, oh, yeah, ho-hum.
Yeah.
What just came to me was the reason for my ho-hum was because for me, to manually begin to do segment intending is going backwards for me.
Oh, okay.
And so it felt like, I don't want to do that because that which has already become autopilot, I don't have to go back and manually do.
True.
It's like going back into the first grade and learning how to read when I'm already in a graduate level English class.
Right, yeah, sure.
It's not necessary. I already know those skills. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to rewind and go unho-hum.
Unho-hum, okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to Segment Intending 401.
Yeah, where truly you can segment intend for just about everything and anything if you recognize what the essence of segment intending is.
Or if it's graduate level, maybe it's segment intend 556. Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, okay.
All right.
Well, this has been great, as usual. And before we go, I want to make sure I get this in more often now, so I'm going to do it with you. How does somebody reach out to you in case they're one of those people we've been talking about who need to talk to you?
If you are hungry for real transformation in your life, you can connect with me by going to wendydillard.com.
And there it is in a nutshell. It's been great. I can't wait to do it again tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Who knows what will be on the docket for tomorrow?
We certainly don't. That's why we ask you to tune in and find out next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye for now.